So here I am doing a full and final review of the iPhone 10, as I promised in my unboxing video, that I'll be sharing my experience of the phone itself, some pros and cons, and some camera samples, and overall how my experience has been with the device. Hey guys, my name is Akshy, welcome to TechnoAkshy, let's get started. So first of all, I'll start off with sharing my experience of the past 2 weeks with the phone itself. One thing I'd like to say is that with iPhones we've always seen big bezels and the normal design that we've seen with two big bezels on the bottom and top, and then bezels on the side of the screen. The iPhone 10 has a brand new design, so it differentiates between the old design that we're used to seeing of the iPhone. It's got a nearly bezel-less design, all-screen design, and yes, we do have the notch, which I'll talk about. That the notch is, to many people it actually is something that bothers them. To me, the notch hasn't really bothered me that much. After, it did feel kind of weird and awkward, I would say, for the first 3-4 days while I was using the phone, that, each time you're watching a video and you actually zoom in, you can see the notch. So that's basically the time that I've noticed the notch most of the time. That's when watching a video, that, you see the notch in between. But then after 3 to 4 days, I've actually kind of gotten used to the notch. And, I would personally say that that's my opinion, that having the notch is better than having, big bezels on the bottom and top of the screen, like we saw with the previous generation of iPhones. Now coming to the speed, the iPhone 10 is extremely fast. The A11 Bionic that we see in the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus, which we see here on the iPhone 10 as well, is just extremely fast. You're opening applications, playing games. I've been playing plenty of games on this. I've been playing Asphalt 8, Real Racing, many shooting games as well on my iPhone, and it's never lagged. And then I've had all the applications open at the same time, and it's never lagged. So I upgraded from my iPhone 6s, which is running the Apple A9 chip, and from the A9 to an A11 Bionic, I would say there's a drastic difference. It's extremely fast, so no complaints in terms of speed. The RAM management, like always, iPhone's great. So the iPhone 10 has 3 GB of RAM, the A11 Bionic processor, which is blazing fast, and so overall the speed I've had no problems with at all. During watching, playing games, consuming media, just doing multitasking, the iPhone 10 is really, really fast. Now, one other good point of the iPhone 10 is that the battery life. The battery life is really, really good. I would put my phone on charging at night, and then waking up with 100% battery, the phone would last me the whole day, and by the night of normal, moderate usage, I'll still have about 45% of battery backup left. And some days I've been using it a lot, so playing games, watching a lot of videos, and even after that, I would still have about 25 to 30% left at the end of the day before I go to bed. So the battery backup on the iPhone is great. On the iPhone 6 and 6s, the iPhone battery backup was not good. On my iPhone 6s, I would use the iPhone the whole day, normal moderate usage, and by the end of the day, well, around like 5-6 o'clock at night, the phone would be on like 5-10%. So the battery is a lot better than the iPhone 6s, and it's got a great battery backup, just like most flagship phones do these days. Now coming on to the camera is pretty good. I'm really happy with the rear camera. I'll leave some samples for you to see. So here are some rear camera pictures of the iPhone 10's rear camera, and like you can see, the effect is pretty cool. The portrait mode, you can see how the blur effect looks really good, and portrait mode does a really good job. And here are some normal camera samples without the portrait mode, and those pictures look really, really good as well. And now in terms of video, the iPhone 10 is great as well. The rear camera of the iPhone 10 can shoot 4K at 60 FPS, which was actually one of the first phones to do so. And it actually was the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10 were the first phones to be able to shoot in 4K at 60 FPS. So the 4K at 60 FPS, I have tried it out a few times, and the footage looks really, really good. The colors are really sharp, and I have no complaints. Now the front camera, the true depth camera, which Apple calls it, I would say is good, but I wouldn't say it's the best. It's a pretty good camera, but sometimes when you're using the portrait lighting effect on the iPhone 10's front camera, which is the front portrait mode. Sometimes it will blur out a part of your face as well, so it's not as good as the rear camera's portrait mode. And if you're not using portrait mode, just normal selfies as well with the front camera, sometimes you will see a bit of distraction, and low light photography I think can be better on the front camera. It's really good on the rear camera, but the front camera I would probably give around a 7 out of 10, and then the rear camera I would probably give around 9 out of 10. Now moving on to one of the main things of the iPhone 10, which is Face ID. Face ID, I would say it works 99% of the time. It's a great technology. It's the future. Touch ID, we all admit, has kind of gotten old now. I do sometimes miss the old Touch ID sensor on my iPhone 6s, but Face ID just works. It'll be like marginally 1% of the time when Face ID won't work, but most of the time it works perfectly. At night the Face ID works. If I'm wearing a hat, it'll work. If I'm wearing anything on my face, it'll work. I've tried it with sunglasses. I've tried it with a hat. I've tried it at night. It just works. Occasionally, yes, there'll be a 1% of the time when it won't work. If you're looking slightly away from the camera, or you're slightly not looking towards the phone, it won't work. But you can't really fool it. I've tried it with my picture, with a photo of me printed out, and it doesn't work. So it's a really, really good technology. It's far better than most Android phones, because it's hardware based, not software based. So no problems with Face ID at all. Now moving on to some of the cons of the phone. I don't think there are much, but just would probably be the notch, if you could call it a con. I really wouldn't, but the notch, sometimes while watching videos, you do have to kind of get used to it, but that's just about it. So overall, I've had a pretty good experience with the phone. One more thing is that it's a fingerprint magnet. I did use the phone without a case for the first 2-3 days, and using the phone without the case is a fingerprint magnet. You'll have fingerprints all over the back, so you do have to be really careful. And because it's glass, that adds support for wireless charging, which is really good, but you can break really easily, so you have to have a case on it, because if you drop it, then your phone's cracked. It's not as durable as the aluminum ones on the iPhone 7 and the 6s. So that was it, guys, for my overall review for the iPhone 10. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, then don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, for seeing more upcoming reviews of devices and other tech-related videos. And I'll see you in my next one.